this look familiar to you? Shit, I think it was an episode ago or so. We cut this thing off, had it sitting around, and we tackled the radiator hoses and everything. But that sucker right there, if you recall, I said it was seized. It was like it was welded. Front one upstream, zero issues. Downstream, which you would think theoretically would have way less road debris, way fewer chances of becoming seized. That's the one that was stuck. So we've got the usual suspects out here. Kind of run you through them. We got some WD-40. I've kind of gotten, oddly enough, to where I like that, the non-aerosol version, because I can do two things. Number one, I can put it in caps or containers really easy, especially when you unscrew the lid. And two, I can sort of like tailor, you know, I don't have to like have things just spray off, and works really well for like drowning things as well. But we've got that. We've got a 3/8 breaker bar. Why? Because that funky little junk O2 sensor on the breaker bar is 3/8 drive. There we've got the 2-foot Pittsburgh. That thing's been great. It's got a big, that's also 3/8 drive actually. That has an adapter. Bizarre. I don't understand that. I get tight confines being logical, but it seems like something should have 1/2-inch drive for an O2 sensor. That's a Ghidorah flare nut wrench, so like really good teeth, good bite. We got a 3-pound sledge, could be 4, can't actually remember. We've got the Nut Busters, and we've got the Raptors. And 2 of these items actually worked miracles. Let me show you, just so you know I'm not lying to you. I'm gonna take this, get it where you can see my hand, and oh, has it seized itself up? Unbelievable. Well, I promise this thing was spinning free. And what did it? There were 2 items involved. What do you think they might have been? If you guessed the hammer and the Nut Buster, that's right, this duo right here, you would be correct. The Raptor, I kind of think this thing was so mauled up. A big part of the problem is those sockets. They are both from Tecton. They both spread like crazy, and it chews this up. Like every time that socket then starts to kind of go out, especially that one spreads obviously more so than this one, but since they've got the slots for the wires, which is nice until it becomes your point of contention, it starts to round off your fastener. Not good, right? So I kind of think the Raptors actually may have done me a service. They just grip so insanely tight. I kind of think they gave me flats again. And then I probably could have hit them with a hammer, but it just worked out. It was easier for me to get the channel lock in position, so that's what I did. And be danged, she started spinning. So I'm gonna see if I can't fix this, prove it for you. There we go. You didn't see anything because the camera was somewhere it shouldn't have been. But do you see? I'm actually turning it. So it is free. Apparently it seized itself. Okay, it's just going to keep doing that. So must be gummed up threads pretty bad. But we'll let the Raptor have some limelight here. These are the real Raptors, not the Icon Parrots or anything. Apologies again for kicking you out, but man, that digs into you real bad. Not the dirt, but just that the sensor end got so screwed over by those sockets. But that will be eventually out. I just need 2 hands. And then coming over here, we got some other stuff going down. So where was it all taking place? Kind of in here. Okay, so this is WD-40 in a cup. It's got a fastener in it. And this right here, well, it's just a little old bracket, right? Let me show this to you. I have an issue. I take really good, aside from, especially at the beginning, like I did what I consider to be a pretty thorough job. Kind of if you have a 2nd gen RAM and you're needing to do anything related to dismantling basically the entire powertrain up front, I think you could follow along and do so. Here in the last couple, I've been like, we're going to put the hose back on. And if you take it off, it should be pretty self-explanatory how to put it back on. But I take, in addition to the videos where I walk you through everything, I took tons of pictures because it's easier for me to go back and find the pictures, right? Well, This phone, it's going to have to be replaced. Sprint/T-Mobile have totally screwed me over. That's another story for another day. But what I'm getting at is, like, I would have pictures of this, right? Like, I take such good pictures, I sometimes don't even write it down and diagram it, which I probably will start doing in the future for reasons that we're about to cover. But I burn through, like, everyone's like, oh, you don't need that much storage, you know, it's not a big deal. SD card slot, nobody needs that. I do, okay? Between what I do here and then you got to realize none of this YouTube stuff is done on a phone, okay? Those file sizes are massive. But like just me doing things out here for stuff I do for friends and customers on the side and then at work, okay? I take a ton. When you deal in freight every day, you deal with freight claims and freight damage every day, right? And so it's important that everything that leaves the facility, I have pictures of, right? And those take up space. And I can't delete them. It's not like, okay, well, that left, time to delete it. No, you don't know. Sometimes, you know, customers come in, you know, and they just random employee or worker A offloads. They don't check anything. And then if people buy things like months in advance of a project, they may not touch this stuff, you know, for an eternity. You try to teach people and they usually figure it out after the first incident. They're like, wow, we should really check that and inspect it and, you know, denote damage, shouldn't we? And it's like, yes, you should. But I take pictures, you know, and videos sometimes. And then, like, if there's ever issues, you know, with customers, we're trying to walk them through it. You know, like video how to do something, send it to them now, which I hate doing. I so much prefer doing that on a computer, but it's like people don't use email anymore. But all I'm getting at is I have to swap SD cards frequently. Like, I burn through them and I keep them, but then they're not on the phone, right? And since it's not on the phone, and then I was getting like those binds where I have to move files around. Currently on the phone is a different SD card than the one when we dismantled everything, so I don't have access to the pictures, and it's a pain to track it down because I put them in, you know, like fireproof boxes so they don't get destroyed. And long story short, I was like, okay, we have that bracket right there. If you look underneath, this is our coil wire, the coil. You've got the header primary, you got your motor mount and the heat shield right there. But this little guy right here, do you see that hole? And then you see these lines here. These are our transcooler lines, all right? And then if you're sitting there and you're like, what's the point of that thing? It's like, if you could see down there, it's bolted, I believe, to a motor mount. That being the LA style, like if you're going to Magnum swap, you know, your Dart, Duster, Valiant, Scamp, Demon, whatever, you would use the old school pancake style mounts, not the spool mounts the Magnums have. So, bolts up there, but then there's a hole there, and if you see it, there's a hole right here on the front side, front meaning facing the radiator. And for the life of me, okay, this bracket has been up here, right by that Vera. There's all sorts of tools. I've like, oh, that's where that is. But it's just been sitting up there for forever, right? And I'm like, okay, I know that went somewhere, but where? And I was thinking it was kind of like probably, since I had it there, I was like, it's probably passenger side. That's sort of my system. And then I was thinking it must be like back, I don't know, is it holding, you know, some sort of this mess up here? I don't know. Probably went on some stud. I don't know how I didn't install that. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, okay, it's gotta be something with this. And then finally, like the light bulb that went off over there towards the kegger, right? I found the fastener that is now soaking in a bath of WD-40. And oh, the light bulbs went off. So what happens, and I'm going to showcase this because it's really hard to film underneath a truck by myself. But if I were to take this and slide the clamp around like so, I think you can kind of see what I've done. That bulging side is here, obviously. It's got the hole on the front with the bulge, and it's got the flat, totally flat side with a hole. This sandwiches, it obviously not only encases your transcooler lines, but then on this bracket, so let me see if I can get this back off. Let's say that this engine oil dipstick, pretend if that's the bracket for a second, and the transcooler lines are in front of that, right there, okay? This back side here where my index finger is, that goes on the back side of that bracket. I will probably, I can't remember, I think it does have to go this way, but then essentially it folds back, and that little fastener I found, I think it's a 3/8 head on it, that is where that goes. So that was thrilling, an accomplishment in and of itself, because I was rigging up, geez, nearly knocked something over. I was rigging up this. These are some pretty trick little billet line clamps, actually. And, a little fancy for the truck, right? But I had them, and I was thinking, like, man, I can't believe I didn't buy dual line clamps. That was really stupid. And I was about to fab some stuff up, and then something happened. I think the phone went off, and I had to get up, and then I saw that bracket up there, and I thought, man, what does this go to? And I got off on that kick, and sure enough, it all came running back to me. The next thing, which, gotta get my phone out of my pocket. My apologies, we're about to get shaky here. Oh, buddy. Alright. First thing first, this light has been phenomenal. I have not charged it a single time, and it's still 3 bars. So, coming down. Alright, I did leave it. So, I don't know if I showcased the Mag Daddy. Thing right there with a long cable tie. That's something I did recently, just to kind of hold those wires out of position. That may actually wind up being what we do. But if you look right up there at the gold thing, the zinc plated bracket, it's got a bolt running backwards through it. Open on that side, it runs down, and if you're curious what that end does, do you see the clip? I can't really... it is magnetic. So, oh man, film crews would be so nice. Elbows in the strap of the camera now. But right there, do you see that clip around those lines? So where that went originally is right up on the front accessory cover. Now, when this engine was built at the machine shop, they did the smart thing, the cool thing, they ran bolts, not studs, right? And so that should be mounted up here, but what I have done, I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, well, how are we going to extend and fabricate a bracket to hold this? And my solution became, hey, why not put it on the motor mount, like the classic old school, you know, LAABE body mount? And that's exactly what I've done there. So I never run hardware through in backwards fashion like that. And what I mean by that, that placeholder bolt that I just kind of focused on, that has thread coming towards the front of the truck, the radiator, the grill, whatever you want to call it. And the reason is that's what I could get to hold to see if it would actually mock up in position. It did. That means if I can get it through from the back, I should be able to get it through from the front. I don't have to drill it. I don't have to egg it out. I don't have to make a bracket. I can just work with what the factory gave me. The thing is, and this is like commonsensical engineering 101. When you drive a vehicle, what direction do you typically go? Like when you're going down the highway, taking yourself to work, running errands, joyriding, you move forward, right? So if I have that bolt in that position, let's say that the nut rattled off, okay? You don't use a nylock, you don't put thread locker, there's vibrations, you're off-roading, you're having a great time, the nut vibrates off. Well, it's held on by the fastener, but inertia and momentum are going to work against that fastener, wanting the head to push out the backside. If we flip that and we have it as we should with the head on the front of the bracket and the threads to the back, all that momentum that's going to push and want to walk that bolt, the fastener, through that hole, it's not going to be able to do it because there will be a bolt head keeping that from happening. So I grabbed a stainless 3/8. I think that's it's either 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches, I don't know. But I always, especially when I'm going through something thin, you know, a little sheet metal piece like that, I like to run flats and locks, lock washers in this case. We'll put the nut on the back side. We'll monitor that one, kind of probably when we do the oil change. I'll make sure everything is golden. If it comes off, it'll be really sad, but it should. I mean, that clip is a pain to put on, so I'm pretty confident she'll stay put. But moving over here, what we talked about moments ago. I just want to showcase this area to you. I've got to get to where I can see what we're doing. And right there is the bracket underneath the coil. Now you're looking at a hole right here. I don't exactly know what's going on there, but I'm only interested in this one. It's very difficult to see, but that little sheet metal bracket piece that's on the cowl of the truck, it's going to encase these lines and it's going to bolt there with the fastener that we have got soaking in WD-40. So that is that. That is sort of the update. These seem like small minor things, and they are, but they're also big, because if you take a look at this, you know, now with that bracket in place, it's holding it really well. But prior to having that there, which isn't even fastened securely, this was just bouncing like a lunatic, right? Not good, not what we want. And this is going to secure this. It's going to keep everything in place. Shouldn't have any abrasions or, you know, stuff coming up hitting the crank or a belt or a pulley or anything. I feel like here, everywhere you see a white zip tie on that convoluted tubing, which runs all the way to the starter stud, there are a series of landing pads, like the little factory cable tie grommet thing. I don't remember where those went either, but I know that where they went isn't on this engine. So it was probably some lame little thing, but the good news is there's lots of places you can cable tie to, just kind of keep that up out of harm's way. And yeah, that's about it for this stuff. So what I'm gonna do is take care of this stuff, have it done and behind me. This is just a late night Friday deal, so it'll be nice to get it done. I'll show you the finished result, but hopefully that walked you through it. If not, I think maybe when I get everything buttoned up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Man, it's got grease and WD-40 all over the camera. Not what I try to do, but this is the bracket. I'm going to clean up a little bit as well before we reinstall it. But you can see you've kind of got like an oval slotted hole, a drilled hole. But what kind of tipped me off that this had the fastener on it is when I zoom in and that focuses for you. Do you see kind of how that's torn up like it had a star washer or a crush? Well, when I found this fastener sitting down by the intake manifold, far, far, far from that bracket, do you see that pattern there with the ribs and everything? Pay close attention to that, and you do the math, right? It's a mate fit. So, if I had two hands, we could make that work better, but that's sort of what tipped me off. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this bracket up a little bit, and then we will get her installed. Alright, so just to hopefully kind of give you a better look at this thing, this SD card's running out of space, but it's got that maker mark on there, sort of like a M or a W. Looks more like an M to me. But again, it's a 3/8 head on it, so that's what we're equipped with. I've also gone ahead, this is going to be my test run. I know it's not stainless hardware, but the bolt's at least stainless, flat lock, and a nut for the other side. So I've cleaned this up, I've got this clean. I'm going to go thread her in place, get the tranny lines held up. Alright, man, what a difference getting this two mounted up made. So right there you can see this is the brackets. You've got the bend or the bulge, whatever you want to call it. Try to keep it focused for you. Padded side goes over, and then our steel thick bracket coming off the motor mount. I've got the other side of this sheet metal clamp on the back side of the bracket. It just catches the threads from here. Tighten that down with a 3/8 socket. I want to highlight this as I pan out for you. This used to just flop, like from the K-member up to the damper, basically. It's like a rock at this point in time, which is super cool. But what I'm going to do now is grab the old Astro, and right there, thinking, get a look at what we've done. So the top, I'm trying to get it to focus. If you see my bolt head right there, the stainless, and then you go up, right, I can see it, but I know what to look for. That would be, you know, again, if you had an old school motor mount, you have to go through the lower hole. I wound up going with the 1.5 inch primarily because I wanted to run the flats and the locks. That gold piece, that is our zinc plated one. And if you come down, you can start to see it clamped right there. I think you can kind of see it. I'm going to bring you over. Man, there's just not a good way for me to get to that in one piece. You can see the clamps holding the lines if you pay attention. Ignore the cable tie stuff and just trace this back. That's what I want you to see. And again, those two connections just solidified that like insanity, which is awesome. So somehow we've covered like almost 20 minutes on this. I don't know how that's possible, but we did. I don't know if I'll stick anything else on here, but little things, the O2 sensors, we've got those freed. We've got this, which I'm most happy with this because I wasn't sure quite what was going on. This one we found a solution for. Again, the studs would come right out here, kind of where my traffic and index finger are. But again, this has bolts, it's cleaner, I like it. If this is an episode, again, not much action, but you know, we got some important stuff done. This is a little things. This is across the board. You can't overlook this stuff when you're doing something. Doesn't matter if you're putting a V10 and a 68 Charger straight out of a Viper, everything swapped over. If you don't take the time on the finite details, you're going to have a terrible experience. You're going to throw transmission fluid, oil all over your paint job in the engine bay. Worse yet, it gets on a tire, you lose control, you crash, you've wasted tons of time, tons of money. Probably worst thing is really the time, right? So this sucker's buttoned up. I'm happy with it. LoneStarMopars.com is a website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Got to remember to get my little old coking out of here. In this formation, it looks really stupid, but it fits that very well. So that's what's nice about a flex head. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. Again, if you need a good light, check out that Astro, that video. I've had that light for forever. I've still not released the video on it, but it's awesome. And yeah, that's it. So if I decide to add something to this, we will. If not, that's it. Little things, attention to details, pays off in the long run. Never take that for granted. But I'll quit rambling. Probably need to get inside. Got to get up early tomorrow, even though it's a Saturday. And I just wanted to come out here and get some stuff accomplished. So transcooler lines from the tranny all the way to the front, built like a rock. So on that note, thanks for watching. Have yourself